Dinner time, Jeremiah 45. The word that Yirmiyahu the prophet spoke to Baruch, son of Neriah, when he had written these words in a book from the mouth of Yirmiyahu, in the 4th year of Jehoiakim, son of Yoshiyahu, sovereign of Yehuda, saying, Thus said Jehovah, the Elohim of Yisrael, concerning you, Baruch. You have said, Woe to me now, for Jehovah has added grief to my pain. I have been wearied with my sighing, and I have found no rest. Say this to him, Thus said Jehovah, See what I have built I am breaking down, and what I have planted I am plucking up, that is, the entire land. And do you seek great matters for yourself? Do you not seek them? For look, I am bringing evil on all flesh, declares Jehovah. But I shall give your life to you as a prize in all the places wherever you go. The word of Jehovah which came to Yirmiyahu the prophet concerning the nations. For Mizraim, concerning the army of Pharaoh Necho, sovereign of Mizraim, which was by the river Euphrates, in Carchemish, and which Nebuchadnezzar, the sovereign of Babel, had stricken in the 4th year of Jehoiakim, son of Yoshiyahu, sovereign of Yehuda. Prepare the large and the small shield, and draw near to battle. Harness the horses, and mount up, you horsemen. Stand with helmets, polish the spears, put on the armor. Why do I see them afraid, turned back, and their fighters are beaten down? Yet they have fled in haste, and did not look back, for fear was all around, declares Jehovah. Do not let the swift flee away, nor the mighty man escape. They shall stumble and fall toward the north by the river Euphrates. Who is this rising like a flood, whose waters surge about like the rivers? Mizraim rises like a flood, and its waters surge about like the rivers. And he says, Let me rise and cover the earth, let me destroy the city and its inhabitants. Go up, O horses, and rage, O chariots, and like the mighty men go forth, Cush and Put, who handle the shield, and Lud, who handle and bend the bow. For this is the day of the Master Jehovah of hosts, a day of vengeance, to revenge himself on his adversaries, and the sword shall devour, and be satisfied, and make drunk with their blood. For the Master Jehovah of hosts has a slaughtering in the land of the north by the river Euphrates. Go up to Gilad and take balm, O maiden, the daughter of Mizraim. In vain you have used many remedies. There is no healing for you. Nations have heard of your shame, and your cries filled the land. For the mighty has stumbled against the mighty. They have both fallen together. The word which Jehovah spoke to Yirmiyahu, the prophet, about the coming of Nebuchadnezzar, sovereign of Babel, to strike the land of Mizraim. Declare in Mizraim, and let it be heard in Migdol, and let it be heard in Noph and Ephtapanes. Say, Stand fast and be prepared, for a sword shall devour all around you. Why were you strong ones swept away? They did not stand because Jehovah drove them away. He made many stumble. Indeed, they fell over each other and said, Arise, let us go back to our own people, and to the land of our birth, away from the oppressing sword. There they cried, Pharaoh, sovereign of Mizraim, is but a noise. He has left the appointed time pass by. As I live, declares the sovereign, whose name is Jehovah of hosts. For as Tabor is among the nations, and as Carmel by the sea, he shall come. O you daughter, dwelling in Mizraim, prepare yourself to go into exile, for Noph shall become a waste and a ruin, and be burned without inhabitant. Mizraim is like a very pretty heifer, but destruction comes. It comes from the north. Her hired ones, too, in her midst, are like fattened calves, for they too shall turn, and they shall flee away together. They shall not stand, for the day of their calamity has come upon them, the time of their punishment. Its sound moves along like a serpent, for they move on like an army and come against her with axes like woodcutters. They shall cut down her forest, declares Jehovah, for it is not searched, because they are more numerous than locusts and without number. The daughter of Mizraim shall be put to shame. She shall be given into the hand of the people of the north. Jehovah of hosts, the Elohim of Yisrael, has said, See, I am bringing punishment on Ammon of No, and on Pharaoh, and on Mizraim, and on their mighty ones, and on their sovereigns, and on Pharaoh, and on those trusting in him. And I shall give them into the hand of those who seek their lives, into the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, sovereign of Babel, and into the hand of his servants. And afterward it shall be inhabited as in the days of old, declares Jehovah. But as for you, do not fear, O my servant Yaakov, and do not be discouraged, O Yisrael. For look, I am saving you from afar, and your descendants from the land of their captivity. And Yaakov shall return, and shall have rest and be at ease, with no one disturbing. Do not fear, O Yaakov, my servant, declares Jehovah, for I am with you. Though I make a complete end of all the nations to which I have driven you, yet I do not make a complete end of you. But I shall reprove you in right ruling, and by no means leave you unpunished. The word of Jehovah that came to Yirmiyahu the prophet concerning the Philistines before Pharaoh struck Azah. Thus said Jehovah, See, waters are rising out of the north, and shall be an overflowing flood, and they shall overflow the land and all that is in it, the city and those who dwell within. And men shall cry, and all the inhabitants of the land shall wail. All the noise of the stamping hoofs of his strong horses, at the rushing of his chariots, at the rumbling of his wheels. The fathers shall not look to their children because of the weakness of hands. Because of the day that shall come to ravage all the Philistines, to cut off from Tsor and Sidon every helper that survives. For Jehovah is ravaging the Philistines, the remnant of the isle of Caphtor. Baldness shall come upon Azah. Ashkelon shall be cut off with the remnants of their valley. Till when would you cut yourself? O you sword of Jehovah, how long till you rest? Put yourself up into your sheath, rest and be still. How shall it rest when Jehovah has given it a command? Against Ashkelon and against the seashore, there he has appointed it. Concerning Moab, this is what Jehovah of hosts, the Elohim of Israel, said, Woe to Nebo, for it is ravaged. Kiriathaim is put to shame, captured. The high stronghold is put to shame and broken down. There is praise for Moab no longer. In Heshbon they have devised evil against her. Come and let us cut it off as a nation. O madmen, you are also cut off. The sword goes after you. Listen, an outcry from Horonaim, ravaging and great destruction. Moab shall be destroyed. Her little ones shall cry out. For on the ascent of Luhith they go up, weeping bitterly. For in the descent of Horonaim the enemies shall hear a cry of destruction. Flee, deliver your own lives, and be like a bush in the wilderness. For because you have trusted in your works and your treasures, you shall be captured. And Chemosh shall go forth into exile, his priests and his heads together. And a ravager shall come into every city, no one escapes. And the valley shall perish, and the plain be destroyed, as Jehovah has spoken. Give wings to Moab, for she has to flee away, and her cities become a ruin, with no one to dwell in them. Cursed is he who is slack in doing the work of Jehovah, and cursed is he who withholds his sword from blood. Moab has been at ease from his youth, and he has settled on his dregs, and has not been emptied from vessel to vessel, nor has he gone into exile. Therefore his flavor has stayed in him, and his fragrance is unchanged. Therefore, see, the days are coming, declares Jehovah, when I shall send him tilters, who shall tilt him over and empty his vessels and break the bottles. And Moab shall be ashamed because of Chemosh, as the house of Israel was ashamed of Bethel, their refuge. How do you say we are mighty and strong men for battle? Moab is ravaged, and her cities have been entered, and her chosen young men have gone down to the slaughter, declares the sovereign, whose name is Jehovah of hosts. The calamity of Moab is near to come, and his affliction hurries fast. Lament for him, all you who are around him, and all you who know his name, say, how the strong scepter has been broken, the staff of splendor. Come down from your esteem, and sit and thirst, O inhabitant, daughter of Dibon. For the ravager of Moab shall come against you. He shall destroy your strongholds. Stand by the way and watch, O inhabitant of Aroer. Ask him who flees and who escapes. Ask him who flees and her who escapes. Say, what has been done? Moab has been put to shame, for it has been broken down. Howl and cry. Let it be heard in Arnon that Moab is ravaged, and judgment has come on the plain country, on Holon, and on Yatzah, and on Mophaath, and on Dibon and Nebo, and on Beth Diblathaim, and on Kiriathim, and on Beth Gamul, and on Beth Meon, and on Kerioth, and on Botzrah, and on all the cities of the land of Moab, far or near. The horn of Moab has been cut off, and his arm has been broken, declares Jehovah. Make him drunk, because he has made himself great against Jehovah. Moab shall splash in his vomit, and he shall also be in mockery. And was it not Yisrael a mockery to you? Was he found among thieves? For whenever you speak of him, you shake your head, O inhabitants of Moab. Leave the cities and dwell in the rock, and be like the dove making a nest in the sides of the cave's mouth. We have heard of the pride of Moab. He is very proud, of his loftiness and arrogance and pride, and of the haughtiness of his heart. I know his wrath, declares Jehovah, and his boastings are untrue, and his deeds are false. Therefore I wail for Moab, and I cry out for all Moab. I mourn for the men of Kirheres. O vine of Sibmah, I weep for you with the weeping of Yazer. Your branches have passed over the sea. They have come to the sea of Yazer. The ravager has fallen on your summer fruit and your grape harvest. Joy and gladness have been taken away from the orchard and from the land of Moab. And I have made wine to cease from the wine presses. No one treads with shouting. The shouting is no shouting. From the outcry of Heshbon unto El-Aleh, unto Yahatz, they shall raise their voice from Soar to Horonaim like a 3-year-old heifer, for even the waters of Nimrim are dried up. And I shall make an end in Moab to him who offers in the high places and burns incense to his mighty ones, declares Jehovah. So my heart sounds for Moab like flutes, and my heart sounds for the men of Kerheres like flutes. Therefore the wealth they made shall be gone. For every head is bald, and every beard clipped, cuts on all the hands, and sackcloth on the loins. On all the housetops of Moab, and in its streets, it is all lamentation, for I have broken Moab like a vessel, in which no one delights, declares Jehovah. How has she been broken down? They shall wail. How has Moab turned her back with shame? So Moab shall be a mockery and a horror to all those about her. For thus said Jehovah, see, he soars like an eagle, and shall spread his wings over Moab. Kerioth shall be captured, and the stronghold seized. And the heart of the mighty men in Moab on that day shall be like the heart of a woman in labor. And Moab shall be destroyed as a people, because he has made himself great against Jehovah. Fear and the pit of the snare are upon you, O inhabitant of Moab, declares Jehovah. He who flees from the fear falls into the pit, and he who gets out of the pit is caught in the snare. For I am bringing upon Moab the year of their punishment, declares Jehovah. Those who fled stood powerless under the shadow of Heshbon. But a fire shall come out of Heshbon, and a flame from the midst of Sihon, and consume the brow of Moab and the crown of the head of the sons of Uproar. Woe to you, O Moab! The people of Chemosh have perished, for your sons have been taken into exile, and your daughters into exile. But I shall turn back the captivity of Moab in the latter days, declares Jehovah. Thus far is the judgment of Moab. Concerning the Ammonites, thus said Jehovah, has Yisrael no sons? Has he no heir? Why has Milcom taken possession of Gad, and his people dwell in its cities? Therefore see, the days are coming, declares Jehovah, when I shall sound a battle cry in Rabbah of the Ammonites, and it shall be a heap, a wasteland, and her villages shall be burned with fire. Then Yisrael shall dispossess those who dispossess him, declares Jehovah. Howl, O Heshbon, for Ai is ravaged. Cry, daughters of Rabbah, gird on sackcloth. Lament and diligently search by the walls, for Malcolm shall go into exile with his priest and his heads. Why do you boast in the valleys, your flowing valley, O backsliding daughter, who is trusting in her treasures, saying, who would come against me? See, I am bringing fear upon you from all those around you, declares the Master Jehovah of hosts, and you shall be driven out, each one straight ahead, with no one to bring home the wanderer. And after this I turn back the captivity of the children of Ammon, declares Jehovah. Concerning Edom, thus said Jehovah of hosts, is there no more wisdom in Teman? Has counsel been lost to those with understanding? Has their wisdom vanished? Flee, turn back, dwell in the depths, O inhabitants of Dedan, for I shall bring the calamity of Esau upon him, the time that I shall punish him. If grape gatherers came to you, would they not leave some gleaning grapes? Even thieves by night would destroy only until they had enough. But as for me, I shall make Esau bare. I shall uncover his hiding places, so that he is unable to conceal himself. His seed is ravaged, his brothers and his neighbors, and he is no more. Leave your fatherless children, let me keep them alive, and let your widows trust in me. For thus said Jehovah, see, those whose judgment was not to drink of the cup have certainly drunk, and are you the one to go unpunished? You shall not go unpunished, but certainly drink of it. For I have sworn by myself, declares Jehovah, that Botzrah is to become a ruin, a reproach, a waste, and a curse, and all its cities become everlasting wastes. I have heard a report from Jehovah, and an envoy has been sent to the nations. Gather together, come against her, and raise up to battle. For look, I shall make you small among nations, despised among men. The dread for you, the pride of your heart, has deceived you. O you who dwell in the clefts of the rocks, holding the heights of the hill, though you make your nest as high as the eagle, from there I bring you down, declares the Master. And Edom shall be a ruin. Everyone who passes by it is astonished and whistles at its plagues. As in the overthrow of Sodom and Amorah and their neighboring cities, declares Jehovah. No one shall dwell there, nor would a son of man sojourn in it. See, he comes up like a lion from the Yarden jungle against the home of the strong. But in an instant I shall make him run away from her. And who is the chosen one to appoint over her? For who is like me, and who summons me? And who is that shepherd who stands before me? Therefore, hear the counsel of Jehovah which he has counseled concerning Edom, and the purpose he has purposed concerning the inhabitants of Teman. The least of the flock shall drag them away. He shall make their pasture a waste before them. The earth shall be shaken at the noise of their fall. There is an outcry. Its noise is heard at the sea of reeds. See, like an eagle he flies up and spreads his wings over Botzrah. And the heart of the mighty men of Edom in that day shall be like the heart of a woman in her pain. Concerning Damasek, Hamath and Arpad have been put to shame, for they have heard an evil report. They have been melted in anxiety like the sea unable to rest. Damasek has become feeble. She is turned to flee, and trembling has taken hold of her. Distress and pain have seized her like a woman in labor. How is the city of praise deserted, the city of my joy? Therefore her young men fall in her streets, and all the men of battle are cut off in that day, declares Jehovah of hosts. And I shall kindle a fire in the wall of Damasek, and it shall consume the palaces of Ben-Hadad. To Kedar and to the reigns of Hatzor, which Nebuchadnezzar, sovereign of Babel, struck, thus said Jehovah, arise, go up to Kedar, and ravage the men of the east. Their tents and their flocks, their curtains and all their vessels shall be taken. And they shall take away their camels for themselves, and they shall cry out to them, fear is on every side. Flee, go away. Dwell in the depths, O inhabitants of Hatzor, declares Jehovah. For Nebuchadnezzar, sovereign of Babel, has taken counsel against you, and has devised a plan against you. Arise, go up to the nation at ease that dwells safely, declares Jehovah. It has no gates or bars, they dwell alone. And their camels shall become plunder, and their large herds booty. and I shall scatter them to all winds, those who cut off the corner, and bring their calamity from all sides, declares Jehovah. Hatzor shall be a habitation for jackals, a desert forever. No one dwells there, nor does Son of Man sojourn in it. The word of Jehovah that came to Yirmiyahu the prophet concerning Elam. In the beginning of the reign of Sidkiah, the sovereign of Yehudah, saying, Thus said Jehovah of hosts, See, I am breaking the bow of Elam, the chief of their might, and I shall bring upon Elam the four winds from the four quarters of the heavens, and scatter them toward all those winds. And there shall be no nation where the outcasts of Elam do not go. And I shall break Elam before their enemies and before those who seek their life, and I shall bring upon them my burning displeasure, declares Jehovah. And I shall send the sword after them until I have consumed them, and I shall set my throne in Elam and destroy from there the sovereign and the heads, declares Jehovah. And it shall be in the latter days that I turn back the captivity of Elam, declares Jehovah.